Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carter Walker. I love talking about movies, music, comics, and games. And today I am going to sit down and rank every single one of these Saw movies because I just got out of Saw X about an hour ago. My review for that will be posted on my channel already. So if you're interested in seeing my thoughts on that film before I sit down and go over my whole franchise review and specifically Saw X, please feel free to go and check that out right now. It will be in recommended or right here right now. Anyways, what I'm going to do for this franchise is I'm going to go in and rank every single one of the movies, talk about them a little bit, and then also share my history with the franchise. I'm not a massive franchise fan like some of you may be, so our lists will definitely differ. Feel free to let me know down in the comments below what your list is, and I'm going to start right off with number 10. And number 10, this might be blasphemy, might not be blasphemy, is going to be Saw 3D, or Saw the Final Chapter. This movie to me is just a mess. I had to watch this movie in like 4 or 5 sittings. It's just, I really don't enjoy this movie. I find the main storyline to just be super uninteresting and very mean spirited. And the traps to me aren't that great. A few of them are actually pretty cool, like the fishing line one. But to me, the absence of John Kramer is sorely missed here. The twist with Gordon just doesn't work, and I still struggle making sense of that in my mind. I'm not that big of a fan of the Hoffman Jill Tuck storyline, so that is also a kind of knock against this film. The effects look terrible, the color grading is bad, the 3D doesn't work. Everything that's been said about this movie has been said before. Tobin Bell is the saving grace of this franchise. I really enjoy his performances in all the Saw movies, but for here, I really didn't like this one, and the icing on the cake placing this at the bottom was the Brazen bowl trap. To me, that really rubbed me the wrong way. A completely like innocent woman burned in like such a terrible way. And I know the Saw franchise plays around with that a lot, but to me, I was just like, it just rubbed me the wrong way in a way that I just can't get over. I still can't. I don't watch this movie. This is a movie I've seen one time. The rest of these I've seen at least twice. This is the only movie I've seen once, and I just refuse to watch. I watched all the Saw movies when I was in high school for the first time, when I was like 15, because Jigsaw was coming out, and then I watched Jigsaw illegally. I'm sorry. And that was kind of nice. I didn't have to pay for it, so. But Saw 3D was one of the movies that I watched with my friends. We decided to turn it off, and then a while later, I decided to watch a little bit more of it. A while later, I decided to watch a little more of it. I'm pretty sure it took me like maybe a year plus to finish this movie. So again, it might be me just not sitting down and finishing it all the way through, but I don't think too many people will be upset at it being at number 10. Coming in at number 9, we have Saw 4. To me, this movie just doesn't really work. This is a movie. Saw 4 and 5 for me are very similar and just blend together. I enjoy the reintroduction of Matthews and kind of tying all these plot lines together, and then having Hoffman in it a little bit more after he's set up. But here is just kind of where the Saw franchise started to divulge into just like, woo, like, oh, hey, there's another evil apprentice. It just didn't really work for me here. And I do think the twist is better than a few movies higher up on this list, but overall, I just didn't really enjoy it. The traps are average. This is a movie that just blends together for me, and when I rewatched it again, I just was like, I don't know, it just felt a little boring. Again, this isn't really my franchise, so if this is one of your favorite Saw movies, I'm sorry. For me, it's at number 9. I don't really have a lot to say about this one. Coming in at number 8, we have Saw 5. For me, it's a little bit better than Saw 4 because of Agent Strom. My wife is a massive Gilmore Girls fan, and so I watched it. I was like, wait a minute, that's Agent Strom. What's he doing in Gilmore Girls? My wife was like, dummy. So I was like, all right, my bad. I guess it's Luke from Gilmore Girls as an FBI agent. For some reason, I saw 5 before I saw Gilmore Girls. So this is a movie where I watched it. I kind of enjoyed the back and forth dynamic of Hoffman and Strom, and I did enjoy kind of Strom's wit in the movie. However, as much as I enjoy him, his death, man, his death is gnarly. I do think the ending is a little goofy, but I do enjoy the kills in here. Strom's death especially stands out as one that's just insane and like so graphic and grisly. I really enjoy it. I gotta say, I like Strom's death, but the rest of the movie just doesn't really fall flat for me. And right here is where you can tell the filmmakers are like, we can't believe we killed John Kramer. Like, what have we done? We have to bring Tobin Bell back. Like, we are fools. We have messed up big time. What are we doing? Number 7, we have what most people would probably list as 8, 9, or 10. We have Jigsaw. To me, this movie is a little boring. However, I really enjoy the updated camera work. I really enjoy the updated gore graphics. I know it's not as gory as people wanted it to be, but I kind of enjoy that. I kind of enjoy the step down from the graphic kills. And I know the twist is repetitive, and for me, I agree. The twist doesn't really work, but I do enjoy the ending. To me, even though the twist is like, oh, it just doesn't work. I love the dynamic between Anna and Ryan. I think that's their name. And that final kill with the shotgun, and then Jigsaw is just like, they're dead. I was like, dang, that's pretty nuts. Like, I know to me that's so dark, but it works just with Ryan. I mean, yes, he did kill people, but it seemed to me like he kind of came around at the end. And I've always been kind of a closeted fan of Jigsaw. Not fan, I'd give it like 2.5 stars. 2 stars. I just enjoy Tobin Bell, being back and just being like, the key to your freedom. This is the key to your freedom. I can't remember what he says exactly, but he just loads up that shotgun and man, it's game over. And then the laser kill is so dumb, but it's just kind of so wacky seeing something so science fiction in the Saw franchise and that dude just not having a skull or anything like that. It's just like, wow, man, they really went for it and it didn't work, but man, is it admirable. The detective plot by Jigsaw definitely wore thin, and I think that it just doesn't do well in a Saw movie. The detective side of things was always the weaker side, and the trap storyline, although the characters are a little uninteresting, I did enjoy that like final reveal of Anna and Ryan and their sins. And I've always kind of had a soft spot for this movie because this is like the new Saw movie when I was getting into them. So this is a little bit of a soft spot, I admit, but I've always kind of liked this one. I do enjoy the updated cinematography. Coming in at number 6, we have Saw 6, and I know people are gonna get mad it's not higher. And I would apologize, but this is like my opinion. To me, Saw 6 was just in that 4, 5, 6 thing where they all kind of blended together, but Saw 6 was easily the standout. Saw 6 was the best one by far. I really enjoyed the game here. The political commentary was just very wacky and weird, but I enjoyed it. I was here for it. The shotgun carousel, everyone loves that. It's pretty cool. Now I can't think of any other traps in this movie, but I did enjoy seeing Roderick and that twist at the end where they were the kids of the man he denied health insurance to, or Roderick was the kid of the man he denied health insurance to, and Devin Bostic just goes, "I'll do it," and kills him. I really liked that. And then the Hoffman Jill Tuck thing, I think reaches at the end of this movie is where I was like, okay, I'm done with Hoffman. I'm done with Jill Tuck. Kind of. If we ended it here, I'd be fine. I'd be fine with it. They can just end it here. But then they save Hoffman. I think how he gets out of the reverse bear trap is cool. Even if I was like, he should have died right there. If I'm being honest, I don't like the Hoffmanator that much, but he should have died. But that's okay. Honestly, for Saw 4, 5, 6, I really don't have a ton to say about them. Just some of the movies that are more forgettable, even though I just rewatched them, and that's just my opinion. So if you're looking for someone who's a big Saw 4, 5, 6 fan, I'm not your guy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Coming in at number 5, I'm going to blaspheme the Saw fan base one more time. Spiral, the Book of Saw. I admit it, I'm a Chris Rock fan. I'm a Samuel L. Jackson fan. As soon as Chris Rock started cracking those Forrest Gump jokes, I was like, man, I like it. I'm in. I'm in for this. But I think this is Darren Lynn Bousman at his strongest direction here, at least with the shot selection, the just how everything looks with the cinematography, production design, how Darren Lynn Bousman kind of rounds up performances from all his actors. Chris Rock can kind of be set apart from that. I think this is Darren Lynn Bousman at his strongest. I do enjoy the score here. Getting rid of Billy, boo. The new puppet sucks. But I think the cop storyline actually fits well here. I did enjoy the police brutality storyline. William, I don't know, that twist was so telegraphed in the movie where it's very, very obvious. And I do think I'm wishing for the director's cut of this movie. I wish that they added in the like face tearing or face, I don't know, the dude. There's another trap in here that's supposed to be in here, but it's not. The backstory behind this movie is fascinating because it was released during COVID. The MPAA gutted this apparently, and you can kind of tell. I do wish it was a little bit more graphic, especially with some of the trap scenes. The finger trap, how that's formatted, just really doesn't work for me. However, I do find the cop plotline kind of interesting, but the editing fails this movie here again, just with how the traps are edited. Samuel L. Jackson just disappears, and half of his scenes are cut, and he disappears for the movie. This movie was really spliced up in editing. but I kind of still have a soft spot for it because I watched it because I like watched it as an adult. I was like, Spiral, let's watch it. I'm gonna check it out. And well, it's definitely not perfect. This is probably the one that can fluctuate the most. Sometimes I'll like it more than some others. It can go up to like 3, or it can go all the way down to like 6 or 7 where I'm like, boo, Spiral, boo. But I kind of like it. It's just so different that I always watch it as like a palate cleanser just to like get something out of my system because the Saw movies, as good as they are for some people, for me they just get very rote, very similar, and I need a palate cleanser, and that is Spiral. Coming in at number 4, we have Saw 3. To me, Saw 3 is Lee Winnell. Obviously, he's signing off with the franchise, and it should have ended there. Saw 3 would be a great ending for a franchise. However, the Lionsgate was like, holy crap, this is printing money. We are making so much off of nothing. Stop what you're doing. Make more Saw movies. And for me, this movie could be so great, but Jeff just drags it down. He's just slow. He's just so slow and so stupid in this movie. And I get it. I think the main storyline with what they're going for, with Jeff overcoming his grief and trying to deal with that, is actually really decent, but they just do an awful job of showing it because the character of Jeff is so unlikable and just so bad at making decisions, so bad at surviving these games, doing these traps that it just kind of tanks the movie for me. And every time I watch it, I was like, oh yeah, Hoffman's in it. This is kind of cool. Like Riggs in it, kind of cool. Like, oh, they're trying to do all this different stuff. Lynn, Amanda, and John, that's an awesome dynamic. But then you get to it, and it's kind of a little muddled by the end. And just with Jeff being Jeff, I find myself really every time I watch it, parts of me are like, man, this is so cool with like overcoming grief and Jigsaw taking a different approach and trying to help Jeff in this different way. It's so different. And I've been saying different. So different. Gosh dang it, I can't stop saying it. From the other Jigsaw motivations that it's unique, it stands out. However, once you just kind of get into Jeff's game, it's like, dude, hurry up. You're so slow. Like Dead Meat made that infamous meme, and it's so true. He's just so slow, and it's just he's so dumb. He's he just frustrates me every time I watch this movie, so that's why it's number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have Saw 2. When I was younger, I watched Saw 2 by myself at night, and I was like, oh my gosh, this movie's nuts. The one trap I can't watch to this day, the needle pit trap. I hate needles. I hate needles. I hate drawing blood more than anything else in the world. I can watch a million people get stabbed by Michael Myers. I can watch a million people get head stomped by Michael Myers, get their heads cut off. People get eaten by the Thing. People get their arms eaten by the Thing. I can watch different things. I can watch the most graphic thing. I cannot watch someone get their blood drawn. I cannot be in the same room with someone getting their blood drawn. I can't even be around people talking about getting their blood drawn because I just get so nauseous. My legs get so weak. I'm like, I'm lightheaded. I'm going to faint. I'm going to throw up. I'm going to die right here. And that is the same for needles. So every time this movie comes on and they throw up that mattress, I look away. I'm like, I can't watch this. I can't watch this. I still haven't watched it to this day. To this day, I have not watched that scene. I have no idea what happens. I just close my eyes. I listen to Amanda screaming, and then I open my eyes, and she's out of the pit. But to me, Saw 2 is a movie that takes the first one, what was most unique about the first one, the games, the serial killer aspect, and amps it up to 11. And it's like, oh, you like the serial killer aspect? Well, here's more. And I do love the game of just it being in this house. That's so cool to me. But the whole film is dragged down by the acting, in my opinion. The writing is just a little eh. I can't get behind Detective Matthews. I love seeing Jigsaw more prominent in this movie, but for some reason, every time I watch this movie, I just kind of get lost by like the second, third act, and Xavier just like becoming this massive, Xavier, right? Becoming this like massive villain in the end. It just doesn't work for me. And then the Amanda twist, I do think it's cool, and obviously it works better later on in the franchise. But for me, it's like I don't know. The twist of the game being done at the same time was pretty cool, and you have to hand it to Lee Winnell. He was like, you know what? We had one twist. We have to do like 2 or 3 now, and so I kind of dig it. But at the same time, it's a movie that I just don't really ever rewatch, just because I don't know. Saw 2 is a movie where I respect it. If you say Saw 2 is your second favorite of the franchise, I'll be like, you know what, man? Hats off to you. I respect it. But for me, I just can't get behind it. So it sounds like I'm being super negative on all these Saw movies. And honestly, this is something that's going to get me murdered. There are 2 Saw movies that I would say are above 3 stars. Saw 2 is not one of them. For me, Saw 2 is like 2.5 stars. I don't know why. I've always been interested in it, but every time I rewatch it, I just find little issues pop up, like the writing, the dialogue, the characters that pop up, and it just kind of gets in the way of me liking this movie. But if it's your favorite, hats off to you, man. I respect it. Coming in at number 2, there's a big gap in quality here. This movie I would give like a 4-star rating to. Coming in at number 2 is going to be the new kid on the block, Saw X. I really dug this movie. The philosophies of John Kramer are explored and kind of put to war against other philosophies. You get to see people go against them. You get to see people test them, and you get to see him react to that. You get to see him deal head on with the fact that he is dying. You get more Amanda, which is always great, even though her wig and makeup in this movie is atrocious. I'm sorry, Shawnee Smith. They did you dirty in this movie. But the direction and the scripts are all very strong, and the performance by Tobin Bell is spot on. The score, as always, just like any other Saw movie, is fantastic. But the big standouts here are, of course, Tobin Bell and the direction. I do think this is the best looking Saw movie. It doesn't have that grunge that some people love, but I like the new updated look. You can just tell there's so much care put into this movie. The camera angles, the shots, the way that they're framed. There's some great dolly shots, some great pans. The editing is toned down a little bit, which I dig. I've never been a fan of that over the top Saw editing. And the characters, especially John Kramer, sound like a broken record. Really awesome. I really loved seeing the extra focus on John Kramer. And it might be recency bias, this might drop a little bit, but I still see being at number 2. I don't see this falling any lower than number 2 just because of how much I enjoyed it. The traps are graphic, but not overly graphic and not overly mean. There are a few times where I was like, oh man, I don't know if that really fits in with Jigsaw's philosophy, but it kind of fits with him being a bit of a hypocrite sometimes, and so I'm not too mad. My biggest complaint about this one, what holds it back from being number 1, is that the twist and the final act don't work for me as well as my number 1, especially the last 5 minutes. They leave a big plot thread hanging in a way that I kind of disliked. It fits with Jigsaw's philosophy, but it just felt like it ended a little too abruptly, and it needed more time to breathe in the final act. But of course, coming in at number 1 is the original Saw, 2004, directed by James Wan, starring Lee Winnell and Cary Elwes. And for me, this is a movie that is so inspiring. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I'm a film student. I know people who watch these videos, the 4 of you, are shocked, because I don't ever mention that before. I'm kidding, I mention it all the time. But it's just, to me, this is so inspiring as a movie that was made on a shoestring budget by Lee Winnell and James Wan. Something that is just so guerrilla. You can feel it when it's filmed and being made. The car chase is obviously just, it's so bad. Obviously, this movie is not perfect. I'm not saying this movie is perfect. This has a ton of issues. The effects are really not that great sometimes. The editing is, it's that famous Saw editing some people love. I don't. The character of Detective Tapp is a little goofy, a little over the top. Danny Glover just gives it his all. But in Cary Elwes is a little over the top as well. This movie is just over the top in every way except the gore. It has a perfect like thriller, Seven, Silence of the Lambs-esque plotline that's not like over torture porn. It's not over the top. It's not super gruesome, super gory. So it's very easy to just sit back and watch. Even though the subject matter is so heavy, the ending is devastating. For me, this is a movie where I was like, if I was gonna watch a Saw movie, I'm just gonna watch the first one. I just think it is such a great movie. It's so inspirational to me as a person and as a aspiring filmmaker. The score is fantastic, and even though I had that twist spoiled for me, it didn't take away from just the shock I had at age 15 watching the twist, watching Jigsaw get up. I know some people don't like it. I personally love it. It works so well for me. Everything in this movie, especially like the traps, Adam and Dr. Gordon being confined in one room, works so well. I wish we would see more of that with them kind of trying to crack the code like an escape room. It's just so fun to me. I just love this movie. Just Jigsaw on his little games, man. They get ya. But for me, this movie, although it could have used a little bit more Tobin Bell, and the effects are a little goofy, some of it is very, very over the top. The score, the main story, and honestly, the jump scare in Adam's apartment gets me every time. And the ending are all phenomenal in a way that just makes it one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And so my number one is Saw. Am I talking crazy? Am I a fake fan? Just let me know. What's your list of these Saw movies? How would you rank them? How would the new one, Saw X, fit in? Let me know. As always, I'm Carter Walker. Have a great rest of your day.